Hello and welcome to another episode of Autogefuehl, today with me AJ and Holger. You join me here in Las Vegas and I am here to attend the CES 2020. Now you might be wondering, what does CES have to do with the automobile industry? Well, a lot of car manufacturers try to showcase their technology here at this fair. So I'm going to be spending some time at the BMW exhibition here to see what they're coming up with in terms of technology and moving away from being not just a hardcore traditional automobile manufacturer, but also to a company that is figuring out solutions for mobility, sustainability, and technology. So, like their hashtag says, let's change perception and let's go check it out. This here is the BMW i3 Urban Suite. So inside as well we have the large single lounge seat. And in the future we can imagine that, for example, you could call this as either an autonomous taxi or with a driver, and it would come pick you up and you have this nice space on the inside to either relax, get some work done. I mean, getting inside, I can already show you that there's also a TV screen that I can retract from the top over here, and I can watch Netflix or Amazon. And there's also a nice table on the left hand side where I can probably keep some of my my laptop or my books. Even the footrest can be moved back and forth. So in this way, you don't need to have a very large footprint like the X7 to have this overall lounge experience. So I for one would much rather have my Ubers in the shape of this rather than some old Toyota Camrys all the time. But it'll be some time before we see something like this out on the open roads. One of the things that BMW is showcasing here at the CES 2020 is the interior design in terms of the new seat. They're calling it the ZeroG, and this is a up-and-coming design concept that they want to implement in the next few years, especially once their cars start becoming more autonomous. And we'll take a closer look once we get inside, but essentially it's a full reclining seat for the passenger, where it still meets crash regulations and rollover protection regulations, but you can have a fully reclined seat. So let's take a look inside and see how this changes the paradigm of long-distance driving in cars. So I am sitting inside now the X7 with the lounge, ZeroG Lounge seat. So far it doesn't seem any different than the standard X7, but things are going to get quite different, right, Carlos?
Absolutely. Not only do you have an induction charging station for your phone right here in the center console, you also have the ZeroG Lounger blanket, so if you want a little extra luxury or warmth.
Mm-hmm. So walk me through what's different about the seat. What's special about it? How is this going to change my whole the paradigm of being driven around in a car?
Wow, that's a lot. Absolutely, but it will. When I tried it out yesterday, I was very skeptical. Now I'm a true believer. So the ZeroG Lounger gives you a feeling of weightlessness, like you're in space, with added extra safety as well. For example, I'm just going to go ahead and start the mechanism, and it'll basically put you into the relaxed position. Your screen is going to drop down, and you'll start off with a little vision of an astronaut, just to give you that feeling of weightlessness, because it is the ideal natural relaxation position. Next is comfort. As you see, you feel no pressure on your spine or the muscles, but how could you really relax without safety? So safety is really important. You have the integrated seat belt that works in tandem with the special rails underneath the seat. Those rails will absorb the energy during a crash, and we also have special anti-submarining seats. That means that the seat will keep you in position, safely locked in with the seat belt, so you don't slide it into the floorboard and create lots of damage to your body.
Really interesting. Okay, so the Cocoon airbags are replacing the standard airbags in the front, or are they in addition to that?
In addition to the side airbags. So it will replace the front airbag. There's one on the left, one on the right, and they'll come around and completely cocoon you. And now we're just going to take off and drive. You're going to the relaxed position, which is about a 40-degree angle, and once we get on the road, I'll throw you into sleep mode as well.
Sounds great. I mean, One of the things that I would say that, you know, in this position, I don't really have a clear view out the window, and perhaps a lot of people might start feeling, you know, a little bit of motion sickness. How do you guys counteract this?
What a great question. You see on the screen, we have these little triangle trapezoidal shapes. Those play in conjunction with your eyes and your brain to counteract the illness that you feel, the nausea you feel from motion sickness. So if Steve hits the right turn signal, all those little trapezoids will start moving to the right, help to counteract those feelings of motion sickness. So now you're in sleep position, approximately 60 degrees, and from here I can adjust the calves, the headrest. We're really happy to present this to everyone because usually I don't get to play with prototypes or concepts. So this is not complete, but it is a really good start. So here you'll feel the weightlessness, the security of all our safety features, and comfort. That cushion is firm but still supportive.
Yeah, I also like the pillow that you have in the back. Really takes the weight off of the neck. And also the music and the ambient lighting. I think overall it is a very relaxing experience for sure. So I see that now you're controlling my seat. So in the future, would this be perhaps a touchpad that I can, you know, use to change the seat positions, or is it voice command? How would I interact with the car to change these different, these different aspects?
You'll be able to control the seat not only from knobs on the seat, but also with the Hey BMW. Our intelligent voice commands have gotten so much better. Before it was just a list of commands, call mom. Now it understands slang and dialect. So could you imagine saying, hey BMW, put me in sleep position? Or you and your wife. Your wife is position 1, you're position 2. Hey BMW, put my seat in position 2. And the seat will respond.
Yeah, I can totally see how, you know, once this comes out of the prototype phase back into production, you guys can improve on this with things that you already have in your seats right now, with ventilation, with heating, massaging functions, you know, maybe more contoured armrest and so on. But I'm done lying down, so what would happen if I wanted to kind of wake back up if I'm nearing the end of my journey?
Well, I just activated the wake up protocol, so now it'll bring you forward a little bit. On the screen, you'll see that wonderful sunrise over Mother Earth, slowly waking you up and bringing you back to reality.
So I think this is a great application once, BMW cars become fully autonomous, that, the car is not just a vehicle to get from place to place, but it's also kind of a first-class experience.
Absolutely agreed. Right now I can see it in the passenger seat, I can see it in the back, but once you reach level 4, absolutely. A place to meditate, relax, balance your checkbook, the options are yours. Let's make the time in the car valuable.
Well said. So we had a couple practical experiences with the X7 ZeroG Lounger as well as the i3 Urban Suite, but where can these concepts go in the future? And to help me, realize this or understand this, I have Paul and Matt here with me from BMW. And what do we have here next to us? This is the iInteraction E. So can you tell me a little bit about what you're trying to highlight with this showcase?
Absolutely. So what we wanted to take was all of those different elements that you were able to experience. So the ZeroG seat, the rear entertainment seating of the Urban Suite, and really put that in one concept that talks about how do you want to interact with this once there's no steering wheel in front of you. So really redefining what these new interactions need to be, so what gestures should be, when touch should be involved, when eye tracking should be involved, and try to make it as natural to interact with this new space as possible.
Great. So walk me through the steps. So I'm coming up to, let's say I've called this, this kind of robot taxi, autonomous vehicle to come pick me up. So where does my experience with this begin?
Right, so one of the cool things we can do is when you approach the vehicle, we have this smart glass film on the window. And as like a warm-up to your experience inside the vehicle, when it recognizes you, it can go transparent and give you a little glimpse of the experience you're about to have and get you some familiarity before you actually enter the space. As you approach the vehicle, we've worked hard to have the intelligent personal assistant that we currently have on screen now kind of transform itself into physical surfaces as well. So we have this cool interactive light carpet guiding you into the space. And then as we come up into the sculpture, this light carpet transforms into the floor and guides you into your seat.
All right, that looks really inviting, so I'm going to hop in. So these surfaces are also like, somehow intelligent or smart, right? So they have a lot of lights inside. They can sense different things and adapt to my requirements. So I'm inside now. So what else can I do with this concept?
So really these interactive features are meant to be throughout the entire space. So the intelligent personal assistant helps you guide through your interactions, as well as make sure that you're familiar with the environment around you. So the first opportunity that we have is to explore the explore mode, and that really takes you to the environment that's surrounding you and says how do you be more connected to this, and how do you actually understand more than you currently can about the environment around you. So just by browsing with your gaze, browsing by looking left to right, you're able to experience and find out new information about the city that you're currently in. If we continue and you want to select, you actually are able to point and move to the next scene and understand what actually is happening at that location.
So right now I picked the concert because that got my attention. So it's playing maybe a little bit of a glimpse of what I can expect at the show. It's connected to my personal calendar, so it tells me if I'm available or not, and I guess it's connected to my social media, so it tells me if any of my friends are going. Okay.
So exploring the environment around you is very important, but we also wanted to make sure that you had a full entertainment mode. So with our panoramic heads-up display, we're actually able to do a fully immersive theater mode where you have full A-pillar to A-pillar display that's actually reflected on the dash around you. So if you actually confirm right now, you can get it. Perfect, yeah. So you can see the smart glass to the left dimmed, so now you have a private viewing experience. You have the full panoramic heads-up display, as well as the set extension going beyond on the dash that's really making this an immersive experience.
So apart from, I see this heads-up display is a really great idea because it's not a separate screen which is taking up real estate. It's part of the windshield, I guess, which is now becoming the heads-up display for me.
Yeah. So really, we're enabling you to have this large format display without taking up all the physical real estate that a traditional LCD display would normally have. So you don't have this giant black rectangle kind of looming when you're not using it. So one of the other modes we can do as well is the relax mode. And so we'll go into relax mode. And so what this does is it really transforms the space into a place for rest and relaxation for the user. So where we originally had all these sensors and technologies kind of providing you with content and information around your surroundings, now we can kind of put these things in the background and really tune out and really rest and relax ourselves. So if you want to go ahead and activate the seat, you can go in full recline.
Okay, so this is kind of like that ZeroG seating, the concept that we saw earlier today. Okay, so essentially, the travel on the road now has become something which is just, it doesn't take the forefront anymore. I can either be entertained, I can be working, I can be relaxing or resting, and the car is just taking me to where I need to be. I also see this, I don't have to have buttons, I can just use these smart gestures, and with eye tracking as well. It's a really connected system, and as well as that, so if I'm driving through the city in this vehicle of the future, and I want coffee, I see a Starbucks next to me, if I gaze at it, will the car recognize that I'm looking at Starbucks and maybe give me some information about that?
Yeah, right. So it's all about using these technologies and natural interaction to really enable the user to have these experiences within the car and really enable and empower them to get more information about things that matter to them most. So.
Great. Well, this certainly seems to be a very interesting future. I wonder how far away this is from being something that I could use, right away on my Uber app. Do you have an idea? Or is it just... It's a concept that you're validating right now, and it could be something in the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Right. So as an overall cohesive concept, this is something probably like more 10 years out. We're looking at full autonomy, really enabling the user to kind of really have these full-blown experiences on the interior. Outside of that, though, we are using these different sensors like gaze, gesture, touch. All these things are currently in production or being actively developed by different groups at BMW. So everything that you've actually experienced in here is something that's currently being produced or being developed at the moment. And so it's basically a full-blown interaction experience of current technology, and some of this stuff will be in the market as soon as 2021.
Great. Well, it's really interesting, and I'm excited to see this technology rolling out as it is here, you know, in autonomous cars in the future. I am here with Mr. Holger Hamm from BMW Design Works. Holger, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today here at the CES 2020. So I wanted to start off by asking you some very generic questions, you know, about what the design is going to look like in the future now that BMW is also becoming more electric and autonomous. We had a glimpse of this with the BMW iNext,
Yep.
but in your view, what needs to stay the same? You know, perhaps things like the kidney grille. What needs to be adapted and what needs to be phased out as we move into this next era?
I think we're moving into a very exciting next area for BMW. In 2017, Adrian van Hooijdonk, the head of BMW Group Design, started to talk about a new form language for BMW specifically. And you see this now coming to life in our products like the iNext. You talked about the kidney grille, you've seen the Series 4 concept car, and you see kind of new ways of interpreting iconic design elements from the past. So we kind of take a new look, a fresh look at our form language, and you will see this come in many of the new products that we introduce this decade.
Yeah, so going further along with this, I mean, traditionally, you know, as an automotive enthusiast, BMW has always been about sheer driving pleasure. And now, you know, with the future of mobility as a whole being considered, what needs to change? You know, you're trying to change the perception of the brand in terms of mobility. And so what needs to change in terms of design to communicate this to the customer?
Well, we have been talking about two very distinct driving experiences, ease and boost. I think you will be seeing cars in the portfolio that can do either or very well, or they can do both together. So the iNext is definitely a car that can deliver an ease and a boost scenario. Boost is very well known to our customers and to you as well. It is something that BMW stands for, and it's also kind of clear that we will continue to deliver this experience, the ultimate driving machine, the fun in driving, the pleasure that is connected with this. But with autonomous driving, new features and technologies are entering the car. And with this, I think we will also see new shapes and new styling cues that support the message of being driven. And being driven can equally be fun in a BMW. I think it is not always about driving a car yourself. It is very dependent on the context in which you're using the car, and sometimes it might actually be more fun to be driven. So again, you will see different expressions of ease and boost in our portfolio. And I think it's starting with the new 8 Series, for example. It's a wonderful car that really exemplifies a boost experience to me. When it comes to iNext, you can easily believe that this is a car where you also rely on assistance systems, level 3, level 4, and let the car do the work for you.
Fantastic. And we have a couple examples, like you mentioned, for the ease side of things here today at the CES. And one is right behind us, the iInteraction Ease,
Yeah.
aptly named, as well as the i3 Urban Suite.
Yeah.
So maybe you can give us a little bit about, you know, the things you mentioned about how we're trying to combine boost and ease together, and how, you know, the change in design needs to change the perception as well, and how that's reflected in these two examples that you're showcasing at the fair.
Well, to put these two things together, I think starting with the i3 Urban Suite, it is really about showing that a luxurious, a premium experience can be possible on a very small footprint. Everyone knows the current i3 for a very small car, and with the Urban Suite and some transformation on the interior, we really showcase that you can have a very private, comfortable, luxurious experience in a very small car. So this is something to be experienced. With the interaction ease behind me, we're taking this one step further. And this is obviously not a vehicle yet. It is, I would call it a sculpture of an interior space and how we feel an interior space should look like in the future. And more specifically, how the interaction between you and an interior should feel in the future. Very, very natural. There shouldn't be any kind of thinking how to interact with the car, to interact with it via speech or via gesture. It should come very natural. So this is really taking any of the current concepts like the Urban Suite or the iNext to the next level, and actually takes us to a place where autonomous driving is commonplace, where there is no steering wheel anymore in the car.
Well, that's very interesting. Holger, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing some of these technologies out in real cars, in production cars in the near future.
Thank you very much for your time.
It was really interesting to go to the CES 2020 and see the automobile industry from a different perspective. Not just being an OEM manufacturer, but also an incubator for technology and mobility. The BMW showcases that we saw are, I think, really interesting, and I totally see how these can be very useful in the future as we move towards more electrification and autonomous driving. But what about you guys? What do you feel about this? Is this something you are looking forward to, or are you more interested in driving the car yourself? And what do you feel about these technologies, and what would you like to see? Put it down in the comments below.